Hi, this is James with Erie Street Stories. On this week's episode, we have Shadows. It's a really creepy story about a woman in a wheelchair who's taken to an isolated cabin to recover from a terrible fall that she had endured. She believes that somebody had pushed her off a balcony. Others think it's in her head. And now that she's in this cabin, strange things will begin to happen. Will that also be just in her head? So I hope you enjoy this week's episode on Erie Street Stories. Here we go with Shadows. Emily Marshall woke with a gasp, clutching the side of the car seat, as if she had been pulled from the edge of a cliff. Her breath came ragged and fast. For a moment, she didn't even know where she was. Only the remnants of a nightmare clung to her. Images of a child's eyes, of curtains fluttering in a dark bedroom, of shadows whispering against the walls. Her husband John sat beside her at the wheel, immaculately dressed as usual, his dark hair combed neatly back. His smile was quick and disarming. "Emily, what is it?" he asked, a trace of genuine concern flickering across his face before it smoothed into that easy charm. "The nightmare," she said faintly. "Which one?" Emily turned her gaze toward the winding road ahead, unable to answer. She had too many to explain. Nightmares of falling, of being pushed. Nightmares of her childhood, of a doll with staring eyes. Nightmares she wasn't sure were entirely dreams. The car rattled over a bump. They had left the city far behind, cornfields and forests pressed close to the road, the world narrowing until Emily felt as though they were driving into a tunnel that had no end. "Where are we?" she asked, the unease gnawing at her chest. "We're close," John replied smoothly. "I rented us a little place, a quiet retreat. Somewhere you can put that past behind you." Emily's lips curled into a bitter smile. "You think a house will make me forget that I was pushed off a balcony? That someone tried to kill me?" "No one saw anything," John reminded her, as if logic alone could erase what she knew. "You might have been sleepwalking. It's not impossible. You don't believe me." John's silence was answer enough. The house rose out of the trees at the end of the gravel drive. 2 stories, modest but brooding, its windows like watching eyes. Emily leaned forward in her seat, transfixed. For an instant, she thought she saw movement in an upper window, curtains swaying, and behind them, a pale figure of a little girl who slipped backwards into the darkness. "John!" Her voice cracked. He circled the car to open her door. "Yes, dear?" "Is someone else staying here?" "No, of course not." "I thought I saw—" She stopped. The window was still, the figure gone. John scooped her up, with practiced ease, setting her into the waiting wheelchair. She looked down at her useless legs, then back up at him with a mixture of gratitude and guilt. "Why do you stay with me?" she whispered. John smiled, brushing it away like an indulgent question. "Because you're beautiful, talented, famous. What more could a man ask for?" Inside the house was warm, furnished, lived in. Yet the air carried a faint unease, as though too many voices had once spoken here. Emily wheeled to the window where she thought she had seen the girl, only to realize the angle was wrong. No one could have been there. John distracted her with gifts, groceries, wine, and a necklace gleaming in a small velvet box. Emily lifted it out carefully. Cold metal. A design she almost recognized, though she couldn't place from where. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "For a beautiful woman," John said. He stayed only long enough for a drink before explaining, with regret that didn't sound like regret, that he had to leave. Work in the city. Always work. When the front door closed behind him, silence fell thickly across the house. That silence did not last. A crash erupted from the kitchen, glass shattering, cabinet doors slamming. Emily wheeled forward, her pulse hammering. The kitchen was in chaos, every door open, shards of dishes littering the floor, and one knife missing from the butcher's block. She called her best friend Helen. The voice that answered was soothing, familiar. It's probably nothing," Emily said, her own voice brittle. But I wanted to hear someone." Helen chuckled lightly. "Maybe it's haunted. That'd be something, wouldn't it?" "You think it is?" "I don't know, but if it makes you feel any better, no one's ever died in that house. No ghosts, no Indian burial ground, nothing like that." Relieved, Emily hung up, only to find the doll. It sat in the chair across from her, head tilted, eyes unblinking. Not the same doll as her childhood, and yet exactly the same. Emily wheeled closer, trembling. She reached out. The doll was solid, heavy, real. Then, without warning, the chair spun 180 degrees, its back now to Emily, a creak of wood. The doll was gone. In its place, dangling two thin legs in dingy stockings, swinging idly back and forth, a child's legs. Emily's breath caught. She wheeled forward, heart pounding, and turned the chair fully around. Empty. That night she dreamed, or remembered. The bedroom was small, wallpaper faded. She was a child again, clutching blankets up to her chin. Her uncle's footsteps creaked the floorboards. He sat on the edge of her bed, his hand brushing her hair. Then he ripped the blankets away. Her scream followed her into waking. Emily shot upright in bed, her body slick with sweat. Something hard pressed against her side. She turned. The doll lay there, inches from her face. She screamed and shoved it to the floor. It landed stiffly, arms out, glass eyes staring upward. Only its legs were visible beneath the bed. Then, impossibly, it slid farther under, as if dragged by unseen hands. Shadows unfurled along the walls like ink. Her phone rang. Helen's voice whispered in her ear, "Emily, it may not be a haunting. It could be a poltergeist, a living person's anguish that manifests this activity." Emily froze. "You mean me?" "Not necessarily." "It's you, isn't it? You tried to kill me. You pushed me. Now you're playing with me." Helen's calm never wavered. "Why would I hurt you? I think I should come over." "How do you know where I—" Emily's voice broke off. Headlights cut across the windows. The front door slammed open. A masked person filled the frame, a kitchen knife gleaming in its hand. Emily recoiled, but the house itself seemed to rise up. A sudden blast of force rattled the walls, knocking him sideways, the knife clattering to the floor. Shadows coiled across the ceiling like smoke. The man, as she now identified it to be, staggered forward, ripping the mask away. "John, it's time you join your father," he rasped, bloodlust in his eyes. "I'll make it look like suicide, and I'll take every last cent he left you." But before he could reach her, a child stepped from the shadows, a pale girl in stockings. She lifted the missing knife. The blade plunged into John's back. His breath left him in a wet gasp. He turned, seeing the girl, seeing the necklace around her neck, the same one he had given Emily. "It's you," he choked and collapsed. Emily wheeled closer, horrified. John lay still at her feet, but when she looked down, the knife was in her own hand. The girl was gone. Her phone rang again. The shadows peeled away, dissolving into corners, leaving her in silence. In the hallway, she thought she glimpsed the child retreating, the door closing softly behind her. The phone kept ringing. Emily sat motionless, the bloody knife clutched in her palm, staring at her husband's lifeless body. The ringing grew louder. She closed her eyes, and the house held its breath. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Erie Street Stories. And I hope you enjoyed the ending of the story, which, as you know, is a little ambiguous. It's perhaps for you to decide. Was it in her head? Was there a ghostly little girl there? Did she kill John? Or was it the little ghost girl? Well, we will have another exciting story for you next week on Erie Street Stories. Until then, look out for what's in the dark.